a timer with me today to make sure I don't go over time. I am a little bit limited because of my storage space, but man, I woke up with so much information today that I think it's long overdue. I take the time to sit down and break it all down so that you can continue to grow with me, because at the end of the day, it does me no good to learn, apply without sharing what I've learned. And I hope that you realize that, because that's essentially what we're all here to do. You see, it's all a matter of having the awareness to realize that your frequency emits a certain energy that can be explained as a wavelength, and these wavelengths are different dimensions of you, which we call emotions, and these emotions are all occurring at the same time. You just got to choose which state you want to participate in. And so today I choose to participate in the path of ascension by bringing it down to you in a way that hopefully you can understand, apply, and give me some feedback, because we're all here to help each other. You know, time is good because it helps me stay within the clock. So we'll be going for about 50 minutes today. Now the second thing is that you need to be able to balance yourself with certain tools or certain materials to bring you back to peace, because as you see, once again, awareness determines your consciousness, which allows you to use your free will to enter into specific alignment, which brings you to unity if you choose to connect. Now, you could connect with your own soul, but most people don't know how to connect to their soul because they've been kind of misled through the archons, right? The demiurges that have created kind of where we're currently at. And it's okay. We have to understand this because it's your perception that determines your path to salvation. And this is all we're going to go ahead and continue to address. Because just like this beautiful piece of Moldavite, you need to understand the colors that you see determine the frequency that you operate in. So what do I mean by that? We need to first start looking at humans for what they are. They are basically a brain and a body using some type of consciousness. And if they become aware of that, well, they have three things to play with, right? You must know your vehicle. There's three pieces: your brain, your body, and your consciousness. Well, let's create an interconnected, integrated system of understanding this so that way we continue to go ahead and bring peace to the world as one. Once again, connection as one. Oneness. And I want to talk about that. Just need to make sure I did press record. Awesome. We are recording and well underway. So, the most important thing here in this matter is that if we don't come to oneness, we won't really understand what is going on. I probably don't need any more of this just to keep it 1,000 with you, but it's all about being able to kind of put yourself in a position where you understand where your energy is being generated from and what is energy. Because you cannot serve two masters at once, meaning you cannot want to be, serving God and then choose to not serve yourself. It's just that simple. We need to recognize that source is all, and that's your time perception. You need to understand that this word here, source, is the same thing as this word here. They're equals. But everything here in the middle happens. And so we need to break down the equation to the path of ascension. Because if you don't understand the equation to the path of ascension, then you're literally holding yourself back into this perception of lacking something. You see, the word sin means to be without in Latin or in Spanish. If you have sin, right, it means you have lacked something. And I want to help you break out of that system of lacking anything. And I want to give you some more education on how you can be complete. Because at the end of the day, to be complete means that you have full awareness of how things around you affect the internal one and how the internal one can affect the external world. And so when we talk about the one, we need to understand what it means, because you see, in the matrix, right, when we talk about breaking out of the matrix, which that's what we're doing today, we're breaking out of the matrix, right? You need to understand that Neo is being spoken about. Now, Cortex is really important to discuss. The neocortex is what makes us human. Otherwise, we would just be emotional. Otherwise, we would just be in survival mode. And this is what makes us human. that we have 3 different parts to our brain. But our brain is interconnected between our eyes and our brain. Hopefully you guys can see that this is a brain and it goes down into that's a brain, right? And we have 3 parts to our brain, as we said, the human part, the neocortex, the emotional side, and the survival. So everything down here, survival, there's going to be a little part, I don't even want to draw it here to mess it up for you guys. But the idea is that your brain and your eye determine everything. And it's the language of photons to the body. Most people don't understand that light is the language of source. And source speaks in photons, broken down through the electromagnetic spectrum. And so if we don't understand the electromagnetic spectrum, we are pretty much sinning or lacking the knowledge that allows your eyes to be able to heal and the eyes to be able to receive, and more importantly, the central nervous system to be able to regulate, right? Because light governs all. That's it. Not darkness, light. The absence of photons, that's a different concept. That is called the absence of photons, which means there is little to no information which one can receive if you are speaking about a human being the receiver. You see, what we talk about is what can the human eye receive and perceive? Because if the human eye can receive a certain amount of frequency of light, means that it radiates between a certain parameter of nanometers, all right? And nanometers, what you're going to learn is that from 400 nanometers all the way to about 700 nanometers is this range, all right? And this range is what determines the light value in the entire process of receiving information from the source. And so becoming aware of the light means that you become aware of the parameters of light. Because you see, energy, it's another way of saying density or value. And value is to the receiver. Therefore, each wavelength has a different value to each receiver. Now, your body is a receiver, your mind is a receiver, and your eye is a receiver. This determines your quote-unquote, your perception. You see, visible light is described through what is called Roy G. Biv. Now this means red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And what you need to understand is that anything that goes beyond this realm is going to express radiation. And then sorry. Let me erase that for you guys. Give me 2 seconds. Radiation. Now, radiation here is not going to be beneficial to the human body. But you also got to understand one thing. This damages the body. You see, the body is important because it is an instrument of music. Music meaning the tone that you generate as a source of energy. You see, an instrument of music or a divine instrument means that you are a generator. You see this throat, it can generate tones at different intensities. And this is why tone is the most important thing of all. You'll see that there is a certain aspect of these waves that is very important to notice, is that as we expand the wave length or the distance between each wave, they are actually lower in energy. So the further out, they're lower in energy, which means they are no good for the body in order to replicate through what is called photovoltaic energy. So, you see, there are 2 types of absorbing energy from light and generating energy. So, number 1 is that we have to understand the difference between what is an energy source, which, as we said, was light in its wavelengths, right? But then we have to realize what can be utilized by the self, which is photovoltaic or piezoelectric methods. And you see, you cannot serve two masters. You must just understand the relationship, because if this is going to be a quantum entanglement type of world, because we're realizing that classical physics are not working for us. So we must transition into a quantum realm of physics, where we are not just living in causation, we are living in a relationship of attraction, distance, and more importantly, in the quantum realm, there's an equal or opposite reaction to everything that we do. But more importantly, it goes into that there are things, spooky things at a distance that are happening that we cannot understand. But this is why you must take into consideration that it is your eye that determines all of creation. And if you can't determine that your eye determines all of creation, I want to help break it down for you. Because at the end of the day, it is our ability as society to help each other realize the power of energy and frequency beyond vibrations. Because you see, most people want to tell you that you vibrate at a low density, or most people want to tell you that you are not woke enough. But the truth is that you just haven't had the chance to understand the light, the information in the way that mattered to you. And so if you're able to take a time for yourself and start grabbing a piece of paper and a pen, and you start taking some notes, you'll be able to ascend your perception by being able to take notes and come back to this later, because your mental image is different than my verbal descriptions. And it is more important that your mind, the thing between your two ears, can understand the big picture instead of your ears being able to listen to the information. And most of us are going to go around talking about we understand, but to really understand means that you understand and you understand how Source generates all, and you yourself are an instrument of divine creation, of healing. Because if your ability to heal is present at all times, just like your ability to be patient and balanced at all times, it's different than saying being what they want you to be. You see, being centered means that you understand the difference between the pain and the statement. You can see beyond the veil of the individual because you can tell the difference between their pituitary and their pineal. You use your eyes to look beyond the skin to understand how the central nervous system and the endocrine system are working together to give this person an actual picture of reality. So when people who are not in, let's say, proper body weight, proper body density, or proper energy tell me what to think, I have to ask myself two things. Should I be a student? Or are they coming from a place that they're trying to express their own hell or perception? Because you see, most individuals are explaining their own hell to you when they talk. This is where I'm at, thus this is what I want to teach you. But you see, I'm at a point now where I'm not trying to teach you how to get to the next level because I have to get there. This is just what's being given to me once again because I am surrounding myself by those things by taking action. You see, most people would say that they would drift away from the price of this stone because it is way too much on a rock. But they must not understand the power of moldavite or the power of green. Because you see, the color of green that I'm holding here may not be the exact frequency. But what is 528 besides the color of green? You see, I have a green marker here somewhere. This is a fake green. This is fake green. Has a balanced ratio that must always be considered, because if you want to operate from the source, the heart source, which is a different type of creation of energy that operates from the heart and the cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, these two work together to create what is called the electric body. You see, the electric body is one that you can actually leverage to manifest on demand or to generate your own timeline based upon your ability to synchronize your instrument to be able to express itself without hesitation. Because at the end of the day, if you can speak with truth coming from the throat chakra, then you are doing what you're supposed to do. Because to fine-tune yourself from the bottom up is quite simple, and I'll break it down. I have my notes here with me today because I don't want to give you my perception. I want to give you the actual information that I believe to find the most useful in the enlightening process that I'm sharing with you. Because I am just sharing the light about how, once again, these colors, green has to be in proper ratio to red. Once again, you'll notice here that there is this line here, because anything beyond this line does not generate what is called photovoltaic energy. That means the electrons that are being hit by the light, let's say that I step outside right now, the speed or the power or the energy of these photons striking down are going to affect matter differently. And as they affect matter differently, you have to ask yourself, am I going to go ahead and accept it, reject it, or let it go right through me? And this is the question that you have to ask yourself, because you're either going to absorb, reflect, or let it go right through you. And if I'm telling you something, you can either absorb it, or you could reflect it. Or you can become transparent and let it go right through you, and guess what? It did nothing for you. But this is why I'm saying you have to write it down, because to absorb it means that you have to take notes. You have to make sure that it becomes engraved in your brain, because your brain is plastic and plastic is malleable. Malleable to the point of neuroplasticity. Because if you make it a habit to write everything you learn, or anything that opens your eyes to new information, then guess what? You are proving the point that your eyes are not meant to just see. They're meant to understand. Because once you close your eyes and you can still see that image in your mind, that means that you are creating your own personal database of knowledge. The Akashic Records. You see, they think the Akashic Records are outside, but they're actually inside. You just don't go in there to look. To connect means that you finally tune each one of your chakras to be able to break away from the perception of what they think time is. Because time is not that. It is this. It is all. Source, all, lambda, whatever you want to talk about it, energy. You see, at this point here, it becomes either positive or negative, because it has to have a cycle of up, down, right? We call it positive or negative. Is it going to go to the left? Is it going to go to the right? We have to have these dimensions in order for our perception to be able to conceptually grasp these things. But at the end of the day, what is it? Well, we're just a planet trying to observe itself in order to understand itself. Consciousness is the paradigm of awareness, right? You can't have consciousness without awareness, and awareness leads to consciousness, because it has to evolve, because the more that it becomes aware of something, the recognition of something must record it. Otherwise, it becomes ignorant, and ignorance leads to the same damn problem that we've been living through. Because they've been keeping you ignorant because you haven't taken the time to go within and make value of the information that is not provided to you with an internal indoctrination system. You need to go outside and break those chains. That means stop believing that the outside is more real than the inside, because it is your perception that gives you the reality that you're living. This is why it's called a parallel universe theory, right? At the end of the day, inflation is not a matter of monetary inflation. They're keeping away from you the truths of the expansion of the universe, because in the 1980s they came to realize that, holy shit, if this thing is about electricity and magnetism, there are two possibilities. One means that it goes like this. Electricity goes like that. And the other one, magnetism, goes like this. And if that was to be the case, then where do you think we stand? Because our old state of believing in the universe and our theories about the universe through classical physics, before we arrived down, Newton and everything, it was about the sun was the center of everything. Before that was the earth. And now we start to realize that there is something greater than us, even out there, which is called the central sun. And if you haven't heard about the central sun, you need to go ahead and take the time to look it up. Because the central sun is what determines the universe's clock. Now, there is no time other than the expression of gestation across cycles. And we return back to the steps that we are describing here, because awareness and frequency are just cycles. When the participant becomes aware and the frequency of an event, meaning if you realize that your bank account has $0 and you go up to $10 and you go back down to $0, that is the frequency, the cycle. And what you do between that is called your lifestyle. Or the problem will be how to make it so that instead of it going from 10 to 0, it goes from to 20 down to 10 to 30 down to 20 to 40 down to 30. That is an increasing ratio of growth. And this can only be expressed when individuals realize it is about the ratio, not about the intensity. It is about the ratio, guys. The ratio, I'm sorry, I can't even write today. The ratio of blue versus green and red versus green, because it is the ratio that cannot be defeated. And this is the thing, they try to keep you in an illusion that this is either a red pill or the blue pill. And that's because they never want to tell you the truth. That G, you call it God, we call it green. If you serve two masters, you will never win. You need to understand that the divine is within, not just outside, because when you do, you give yourself the power back. And this is why I always speak to you guys with so much power, because I praise what made me, but at the same time, I don't deny what I am. I know what I am and I know what I'm not. And the moment you could say the same thing with so much passion is because you truly embody it. Because at this point, I'm not living anybody else's reality. I'm making my own. And I want to take you on this journey because it's the only thing that I know has brought me sanity, peace of mind, is making sure that when I get somewhere, I turn around and I bring others up. Because if I don't, then I am leaving my brothers behind, my sisters behind, and this is not the time to do that. You need to realize that at a certain point, you learn enough. Take responsibility. At a certain point, you will become enough. Become a leader. And at a certain point, you need to evolve, ascend, and this is the path. I am sharing with you everything I've been able to acquire over the last few months. This is what I've been taking my time away from the world for. Because as I chose to ascend, that means I chose to forgo known hells to pursue unknown heavens. I left it all behind, not knowing what was ahead. Because I knew that my awareness and the frequency of me coming back to these emotions of me not being satisfied led me to a point of disgust, where if I didn't change the way I utilize my energy within my 24 hours, then guess what? My wavelength, my ability to impact others was going to remain local, but I needed to go international. I need to go ahead and make sure I'm universal. But you need to understand that the reason why I know I can reach the level of universal is because I'm speaking the language of the universe. I am speaking from here. I'm not doing this for this. Look, people charge thousands for knowledge. Guess what? You deserve to have it all. That's why I'm building everything I'm building. From the solar farm to the mining infrastructures to the gyms to the software company to the DAO. You guys are going to have it all. And this is for you because it's not about me. I need to make sure that when I'm here, you understand your ability to process lights and colors really determines the way that your circadian rhythm starts. And if you don't understand that those photons are going to go ahead and penetrate through your forehead, through the bones of your forehead to actually enter the pineal gland so that it can start regulating the pituitary gland, then what you're forgetting is that every master has a mistress. And every master has a partner. And in this case, you have the pituitary, which, yes, it's the master because it rules the sex organs. And then you have the pituitary, which is the boss, the wife, the mistress, whatever you want to call it, but it's the best friend of the pituitary. Just like me and my wife, that's my best friend. And so if you can't do it, you can't balance it behind the doors, then guess what? Me, I can't show up here because she's the master. And you need to understand this because all of you men who are watching this are denying the fact that biology rules your reality. If you were given the opportunity to come into this world as a man, guess what? It's not up to you to say I'm going to change it. It is up to you to abide by the laws of this lifetime that you've been given. And now you got to go ahead and learn to discipline and balance those emotions. Not necessarily with the intention of using your free will to change what is not yours to change, because this is a game. You need to understand it. They call it a simulation. We call it a game. At the end of the day, it's flawed because I'm here to hack it. And I'm telling you the rules. And if you could understand that not all of us are destined to be following the same lifestyle, this is the whole point. You see, there was this individual that was brought down who was actually a Jew. Yet the entire nation of the U.S., we judge Jews, but it was Yeshua. And this individual who lived in the body of Christ, he identified as the son of the energy that made us. He identified as that. And the reason he could identify as that is because he was of the Christ mindset. The Christ mindset is one where your body is not too much man, not too much female, but it is balanced. And it is in that balance where duality comes to become holy, complete, one. Because once you know that, you have a choice. Once you make your permanent identity, once you make your identity that one of the servant of Christ, one where you are here to serve and live it to the depth of the human potential to actually experience the body in its full regenerative state. To regenerate yourself is not just being able to choose to serve, not just choose to move without asking for money. It's not about the money, guys. It's about the ability to see the brothers around you being able to step up to become their best self. But you're playing in this game. And so because you're playing in this game that requires certain things, you must become aware of the responsibilities instead of talking shit about them. And by talking shit, you're kind of denying yourself. More importantly, you're fully denying yourself the opportunity to become your best self just because you believe that the game is tough. But the game ain't tough. You ain't good enough yet. So I'm going to give you a few steps to be able to become better. Because if you allow yourself to become better, you'll be able to transcend. Transcending and ascending are two different things. And this is what I hope that you realize. Because with information, you can transform yourself. But with action, you could ascend. And so, number one, we have to understand that if it's an instrument of music, we have to realize that these chakras are all here to give us some type of positional education. Right? Because our very base chakra, and I'm going to start here, very first chakra, you want to think of it this way. It's the first to be turned onto the earth's vibrations. And it gets freed once it is aware of its responsibility of physical survival supervision. If you don't become aware that you have to supervise your own self, supervision, that's what it means, super/vision. You have to become aware to see beyond, to know how to see with the eyes, because the eyes bring the balance. This is why 528 is here. 400 here, 700 here. You tell me what's near the middle. Because when you look at what's going on here, everything from here, well, not everything, most of the stuff from here this way, guess what? It generates photovoltaic energy. So that means that by you stepping into the sun, you allow yourself to become a son of the light, which means that you let your receiving body, this instrument of creation, to create a separation between matter and electrons. And if you don't understand how electrons can go ahead and, given a magnet, flow into a proper charge or a flow, then you're not seeing this realm of self. Because you don't understand how your body is a light body, but you generate energy from the heart like so. The heart operates in a magnet-like, oscillation. And not only is it going in waves, but it goes and expands and ripples. And that's why the second chakra, you need to understand this, because I lived it. Many of you have heard my story that I've been paralyzed, but many of you did not know that our second year of marriage, me and my wife went through an experiment together where I asked her, babe, I need 1 year. Full abstinence. I need to do this for me. It's hard to speak about it because I've never talked about it. 1 year. Don't lose faith. I'm here. I need to know myself. And if I didn't do that, how would I know that I had the free will to choose my wife every day, but not fall to the urge? Because there's a big difference, guys, between the urge and the rhythm. And when I talk about that, it's real simple because you need to understand it. There is rhythms and there are urges. And the pituitary gland is the one that leads to these urges. But the pineal gland is the one that'll keep you in control of your rhythms. So I learned. So I studied. everything changed. I have notebook after notebook proving everything I know. Every hour of research, I write it down because it's not about the profit, it's about the knowledge that I can leave behind. And as you can see, I am moved tremendously by revealing this truth about me, because at the end of the day, it does me no good to hold on to it. She suffered with me for that entire year, pondering if it was her or if it was me. But you know what? Like I tell you, I was told to do it. And if I didn't do it, how would I be able to sleep with myself at night? Because I'm not choosing anybody else but her. She's giving me the chance to be able to choose me. And a lot of you guys don't see it as that. That you don't choose a partner for validation nor attention, nor do you choose them to become, your possession. You need to understand that you choose your partners because they help you become what you're supposed to be just as much as you were destined to supposed to help them become what they were supposed to be. And I get it. Not everything is about eternity, but you need to understand that you came into this world with certain contracts. And these agreements, just like blockchain and smart contracts, you need to understand the algorithm that controls it all. Because if you don't have awareness of the algorithm of the source, then you are robbing yourself of the beauty of the matrix, because it's not a cage. It's a privilege. And you have a responsibility. And most of us think we're just here to go ahead and make some money. Let me ask you, how many people have really actually seen a better day because of you? I'm talking about a better day, not a better moment. I'm talking about a better night, not a better moment. And all of this comes down to, do you understand the power of the second chakra? Because the chakra, which was once in control of the sexual appeal and desire, is now designed to elicit manhood in man and womanhood in women in their divine manifestation. You see, sex was used as a way to go ahead and create the urge, but not the price is to actually be able to see a person develop to what they were supposed to become instead of just being able to bust a nut and leave them in the dark. And most of us won't realize that because we still don't live from that place of oneness, where we use our neocortex to become more than just survival beasts or emotional animals. We've got to become human. And to become humans is to become aware of what the third chakra holds, because once it was responsible for the self-assertion of the old world, of living in a 3D state of low vibrational. Remember, this here is low frequency because it doesn't generate energy, doesn't generate electricity. It just creates heat. And so everything here generates heat because it's a system of generating energy, very low density with high friction, which means that it's unsustainable because of the due to a loss of energy to the increase of heat. This means that when you generate emotions, you're actually wasting more energy. Therefore, you are throwing yourself off balance. And you see now in the new world, when you step up and you become aware by restabilizing your body. This is why I created the 8-week health challenge that's going to pay you to work out and teach you about blockchain. This is why I'm building an entire community of the best doctors in the world that just want to serve, that just want to heal, that are tired of the system because they understand there's a better way. And I hope you understand that there is a better way, because once you become responsible for your own self-salvation, now you'll emit new energies of self-respect and self-realization, highlighting unique individualities of yourself that display your inner originality and your hidden talents that were once kept away from the world. You see, I never knew that I could teach, but I just did. I just stepped up and said, look, I'm tired of learning without sharing. I'm just going to share. And it's not up to you to go ahead and promote me, but guess what? Somebody will be able to find this information valuable, and therefore they will be able to transform themselves. And if they share a message with me about that, I will continue to do this because that's my job, to bring awareness, to innovate the path, because guess what? When the Son of Christ came down, or the Son of God came down in the body of Christ, let's say, in the state of Christ, which means balance, male and female. Sex is not the identity. Sex is only the opportunity to realize that when you're inserted into the matrix, there are certain contracts that have been made prior to this place that you need to understand they are to be held in the form of a male, because you're supposed to restabilize the male energies of the world, not run away from them. And most of you want to run away from them because you think it's too much to handle. Guess what? It's our responsibility to become better men. This world has seen enough weak men. Are you willing to go ahead and step up? That's the real question here. Women have done their job to equalize the entire playing field. They did their job for generations after men tried to submit women to the ground to make sure that they understood that men were better. They're not better, we're equals. The truth is, there is two forces after this electromagnetic spectrum. There's two forces, electricity and magnetism. We call this the pattern of the matrix. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about, because this also represents father, this also represents mother, and this feminine, masculine. See that? Father, female, they're both the same. They're playing a game with you. They want to use words to cause an illusional confliction, because if they confuse you, then you don't really understand what life is, because it's about the density. You don't want to live down here. You don't want to live down here. You don't want to go ahead and get stuck in the gut. You want to be able to find a way up out of there, because as I said, you need to be able to find your, what we would say in this card, your solar plexus, right? Because we need to follow the solar plexus to be able to emanate all of the warmth and the love to every being on, or to every living being on this realm, and without dividing or separating ins and outs, close and distance, since the energy is called the unity force. This is the source of energy that is going to bring us all together. At the very background of 5D represents all of the humans' emotions and coming together to oneness. Oneness means one planet. One planet, because we are the awareness of the planet. Once you become aware that the planet is studying itself by dividing itself into many different life forms so that it can continue to study itself, then you will come to realize that you are simply a receiver of data and information through your perception about the actual world. This is why it's called Mother Nature, Father Time. You have what's called a gestation period, a certain amount of time to become aware of your participation in the relationship of the connection, and that is called your soul, because your soul is literally just here as a participant of the source. You need to understand that once ascension occurs, the throat chakra, ascension in 5D, becomes flourishing and turns into the main instrument of their creativity and self-expression, getting tuned by the initial four, helping it manifest into a still more fuller, extension, brighter way. Because at the end of the day, when you can speak with your throat, you can manifest new timelines. Guys, that's what we're doing here. The more that I speak about what we're building, right? You gotta know that the more that we speak about the throat chakra, the more that we can manifest. You see, manifestation occurs when there is a communication and an automation through organization of thoughts, by being able to see the future before it actually happens. And so myself, I've been spending years looking ahead, preparing for these moments, because it's not going to happen unless we take action. And I can't depend on you to take action. I can only depend on myself. These are the things that I control, me. I control nothing else outside of me. I don't control the time the sun comes up, but I tell you this much, I can control the time I get up to see the sun, because there is this thing that's called green light that occurs at certain hours of the day, and most people don't understand that, so they live backwards. And if you don't get up at the early hours of the light, you see, light is not intense until a certain point. And so let's say that this is, these here, this is green light time. This is green light time. This is why it's so important that you get at least 20 minutes every single day, twice a day, of green light. And if you could do that, this is called non-invasive light colored therapy. And so this is what it's all about, because once you realize, once you realize that your throat chakra can help you express those things, then telepathically, the sixth chakra, right, will be able to go ahead and become the main means of communication through people. And once you realize that it's your pineal gland, the crystal within your own mind, that receives the photons that are being displaced by the sunlight, then it is how we regulate the circadian rhythm of the body, because it's just a circuit of ions. Circadian rhythm is a circuit of ions that if you don't understand, then you need to go ahead and reach out to me. I'll do my best to explain it. Once again, we are building an entire health knowledge library. I am not the leader of the entire thing because I need to delegate this position to another leader. And I'm still looking, because as a team, we all need to come into agreement of who's going to be the leader that brings us forward into the world. I'm simply the voice that can't be stopped. And so if you can hear me, then please help share the message forward, because all we're doing here is to make sure that everybody understands the path of ascension. Because the path of ascension is not downwards. It's just a way that us humans can perceive the information without feeling lost. And that's why the 7, I'm going to go ahead and put it here. This is 5, by the way. This is 6, and this is going to be 7. Like I said, when we reach the light, it basically means that we create a bridge that connects you with the worlds of higher dimensions. Do you realize what that means? When you become someone of value in the world, you'll be connected to people of different value to the world, who see the world differently but love the time they spend with you, because it's from here, not from here. This knows no borders. It doesn't have a wealth limit. You can be of any wealth class and move with love and be appreciated, be respected, and be of value. But that's the thing, you must learn to be of value. And so if you don't understand how to be of value, then you start looking for monetary exchanges that just allow you to profit in the short term. That's called negativity. If you want positivity, you give value knowing that returns down the line are going to come in monetary form. Beautiful story if time allows. I have 10 minutes. Beautiful story. We just helped one of our DAO team members out of a terrible situation in South Africa. You see, when your credit is no good in South Africa because of bills or whatever it may be, emergencies, you're deemed blacklisted, let's say, and so they put you in this list where you can't get help anymore. They basically say, look, you haven't helped us enough, you're no longer going to get help. We hope the best occurs for you. And as we transition from the old world to the new world, there are certain skill sets that maybe have been overlooked, such as how to sell yourself, or how to organize a business, or how to deliver actual value without robbing for profits, or how to prepare yourself for success instead of just pursuing it. Because you see, when I first began my mission of trying to become a personal trainer, I had to learn how to sell myself and at the same time balance turning myself into a product. You are a product. That's it. That's why they gave you citizenship somewhere, because they needed to birth your product. You are cargo. You are participating in the legalities of this entire, game. And the legalities means that you are a legal product or an asset to the entire game, and you produce revenue. And so because you produce revenue, you need to understand, well, what type of life or what type of density do you possess? Because when we start to look at this, these are different dimensions. People that make absolutely no money is one dimension. But at the same time, people who are just being born have a different dimension. And this all relies on your perception. So don't limit yourself to that, because your perception is determined by your reality. And your reality is determined by the amount of light that enters your eye, the percentage of time of the day that you spend outside receiving light from the body, and the number of steps that you take per day in a way where you turn your body into a piezoelectric source of energy. Most of you guys will not do that. Therefore, you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to re-energize your own vessel. The body is a self-charging battery. If you don't understand that, that's why I'm here. I hope to one day explain it to you with more depth, and the opportunity to learn what I didn't explain properly will help me grow. So never hesitate from engaging with me. As you can see, All that we're talking about here is a path to ascension that allows you to understand how Source will determine your ability to perceive light. Look, the moment you wake up, there is a cycle, right? You wake up, you go to sleep. That's a cycle. The moment of time you spend asleep, that's a cycle. If you don't understand the cycles of your gut and sleep, you're robbing yourself, just like if you don't understand the cycles of light and hormones. These are all different cycles, but your ability to balance the cycles makes you a master of your own rhythms. Guys, to move flawlessly through time and space, you must become aware of your own rhythms. And then you can have control over your own urges. Because a mind that chooses to participate in certain rhythms is one who is either aware of it or is unaware. And if you're ignorant to the rhythms that you're living, it's just as simple as taking out a piece of paper and writing out your schedule for the week. That's your rhythm. I hope that with more information that I'm going to be presenting, you'll be able to learn how we can take the small concept of you writing down your 7 days, and then I can implement a 28-day cycle, or maybe a 60-day cycle, and then a 360-day cycle. I'm here to change your life. It's just that simple. That's what I've been pursuing to do for the last 10 years, and that's what I'm going to guarantee to do for the next 10. I have goals for myself at 40, but the next 10 years for myself are going to be dedicated exclusively to helping you transition from the old world into the new world. Because as we step into this new realm of Web 3, you need to have someone fighting for you, your health, and your family's well-being. And that's me. I promise you that. If you need more help, join HealthBank DAO. The Decentralized Health Organization is where you want to go. I'll make sure to put those links below. But as always, I try my best to not just come on to speak. I want to make sure that I deliver value, a precise process of how you can go ahead and get started with understanding Source as all that is, right? Because all that is can be expressed in the form of a circle. But if I write a circle, that could also be illustrated as a 0. So remember, it's not all, and it's not the circle. It's the concept that is in your mind about what it is. And energy, yes, we could talk about the wavelength. That's what this symbol means. What is the wavelength? But it actually represents the energy in the sense of, is it a gamma ray? Is it an X-ray? Is it a blue light ray? Is it an infrared? Are we talking about, UVs? What are we talking about? And the more that you understand the power of the neocortex, you'll understand why you are the one who can change this. Because it is your perception, right, about your own reality that determines what dimensional state you're in. Some would say that you have to go ahead and look at it for the, I call it Baji. Right? And so beta, alpha, theta, guess what? Delta, gamma. These are two important ones. This occurs when you sleep. This occurs when you meditate. And when you meditate, you make sure that you get yourself some of that 528, diachromatic lights. And I'll give you the exact measurements. So if you really want to improve your biorhythms, make sure it's a 150 watt, 38 chroma, 38 dichro. That's what it would be. So 38 dichro. This will create the most chroma, and that will be the most helpful light for the body, because this light doesn't actually create any kind of reaction to your visual cortex. Your occipital cortex will not actually generate an image. It'll actually feed and heal the pineal gland. Remember, guys, I'm just here to share what I learned with you in the best of my abilities. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or join the DHO. We are building a decentralized autonomous organization on Web3, and I would love for you to join us. It all starts September 11th with our health challenge. But if you happen to be in LA at the fitness convention, May 21st and 22nd, we'll be out there. I'll be a judge at the Battle of the Bars competitions. So as you can see, I am super excited to continue to share the message, Get out there with the public and make sure that everybody has a chance to change their lives and heal themselves from within. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.